Take it easy and solve the school lunch problem with SPAM. S-P-A-M.
こんにちは、タイガークローラジオ。You are listening now. Fuck J.
You are listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Number one in vintage computer and video game entertainment. And now your host, Critical Failure.
Jingle that I think we all know. Welcome to Tiger Claw Radio, everybody. I'm your host, Critical Failure. It's time to talk some video games, listen to some chiptunes, and have a good old time. This week we're going to talk a little bit about Rockman No Constancy, the Mega Man 2 ROM hack, which I've recently become acquainted with. Got a couple new releases on Steam to talk about, a little sale this, a little sale that. What else is going on? The end of the Wii Virtual Console and WiiWare. All this and more this week on Tiger Claw Radio. Alright, for chiptunes this week, let's go back to my Battle of the Bit. My Battle of the Bit picks for Winter Chip 8. It's been over for a few weeks now, but the picks I have here, that's been my go-to chiptunes for the past little bit. Alright, you guys are listening to Tiger Claw Radio. That track is called Rainbow Lights from Galgox. Get yourself a copy of the MP3 over on Battle of the Bits. Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition has just come out on Steam, and it's $20. Gotta say, boys and girls, it's really got my attention. It's got some stiff competition. It's launching at a time in which Grand Theft Auto 5 was on sale. So here's what we have. Let me break it down for you. On one hand, we have Grand Theft Auto 5. Which from what I understand is going to be an awesome single-player experience with some pay-to-play kind of stuff for multiplayer, although the multiplayer could still be fun. And on the other hand, we've got Neverwinter Nights, which is going to be some Dungeons and Dragons kind of stuff. Single-player-wise, vastly inferior to what I think Grand Theft Auto 5 is going to be. but one supports user-generated custom content and one does not. And that's really where I think my consumer dollars are going to go. Lately, though, I've been playing... I've been in a Sonic the Hedgehog kick with my kids. They want to see Sonic Classic Heroes. That's what they want to see every day. They don't want to see Sonic 1. They don't want to see Sonic 2. They want to see Sonic Classic Heroes. It has to be all three jumping around. We've been playing that on the Sega Genesis flashback that I got from Hemrock this past Christmas. And it's been a good time. It really has. It taught me that I'm bad at Sonic games, which is something I wasn't... I mean, I kind of knew, but this really drove it home. I mean, I'm bad at Sonic games. I can't get anywhere. It's taxing to get through the Marble Zone in Sonic 1. I'm not getting through the next zone. What is it? The Spring Garden, Spring Yard, something like that. Whatever comes after the Marble Zone. Sendu, you would know about it. Yeah, I haven't gotten past that yet. But it's been fun, man. We crowd around the TV and we have a good time with it. Also, I played the Rock Band No Constancy ROM hack, which showed up in the mail. I put up a video about that just today. As far as ROM hacks go, I don't know. It's got a lot of great polish, and like when I first turned it on, I was like, oh man, this is gonna be awesome. There's new music, there's new stages. It's actually its own game for the most part, as opposed to just being another Mega Man 2. But then when I started playing the levels, what they did was they dropped down the drop frequency of large health packs to almost nothing. You're getting no... You're not getting any health bonuses in that game. And Mega Man's hard enough as it is. And then on top of that, in true Mega Man ROM hack fashion, everything does more damage than it does the first way around. So it's impossible. I mean, Rockman Exile is hard, but Rockman No Constancy is impossible. But I have a legit cartridge, so yay me. Alright, boys and girls, so now it's time to go back in time. We're going to go back in time all the way to Monday morning on the Vancast, here on Tiger Claw Radio.
Oh boy, Monday morning. It's a cold one today. We've got frost on the windshield. Hang on, let's see if I can turn the blower down a little bit. Frost on the windshield. First time in a good bit I've had that. But it's been a good morning. I got up early and I was able to poke around on Twitch a little bit, and I streamed for about a half an hour this morning. And of all games, I streamed Eye of the Beholder from MS-DOS. Alright, so GOG.com, they have these packages, okay? They're old Dungeons and Dragons games packed together. They're like Forgotten Realms archives or something like that. And each one's got several games. And I bought all three. For about you're looking at about $5, $5.25 for maybe, I don't know, 10 games or something like that. I don't know all of the games that were in there, but some of them were recognizable. Pool of Radiance was one that I recognized. But the big one was Eye of the Beholder. We got Eye of the Beholder on Super Nintendo, but it was actually a trilogy of games. And MS-DOS and possibly other early computers are the only ways I know of to play the real trilogy. So we got it on Super Nintendo, but there's also a Game Boy Advance game that was pretty good, but again, just the first one. So I loaded that up, did a little stream. I was having a good time, man. I really was. That's a good game. It was easy to play. Here's the thing about dungeon crawlers, especially when you get into old ones. A lot of those old dungeon crawlers, they really took an investment to learn how to play. Whereas this game, I was running around, I was doing the fighting. All that stuff is really simple in Eye of the Beholder. Comparatively simple, anyway. I got through level creation, which is always a difficult task when it comes to early computer role-playing games, especially for a game that's based off of 2nd edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, where the simple question of, what's your alignment, prompts 9 different answers. You can't just be good and evil. You're lawful good, chaotic good, neutral good, lawful evil, neutral evil, true neutral. Don't forget about the neutral options. Alright, I just want to play the game. I just want to walk around in the dungeon, that's all. But that's role-playing, man. You got to make those decisions that are going to come into play maybe once or twice in a... how do I get it back? Here we go. Once or twice in like a 20-hour, 50-hour, 100-hour experience. But that's cool. It was a good time. Got to do some more Quake Online as well. Last night I was streaming. I connected to a co-op server. And the way I did it was I fired up Twitch and I was playing Quake on co-op. It was just me, but I was throwing the IP out there in text chat. So it's like if you wandered into the stream and you wanted to join, anybody could. I mean, my Twitch channel is still really teeny tiny, but I thought that was a neat idea. So it was a good tech test. I'll definitely be doing that in the future. Whenever I stream on Twitch, there's an awful lot of like just muddling around with settings. I push myself on the air, right? And then the first 10 minutes of me being on air is definitely like, all right, let's get the windows the way they need to be. Let's get the game picked out, get the dashboard set, all that stuff. I usually do all that on the air. If there's one thing I've learned from podcasting, it's that you can't tell a story twice. You can't tell a story twice, and momentum is very fragile. So if I start talking and getting the ball rolling while there's setup, and none of that gets recorded, I don't know. It could mess with the vibe a little bit. So I don't know. I've had Twitch on the mind. Just getting involved with Twitch, just being part of something new. It's been good, man. So yeah, we got on there. Pretty big sale over on GOG as well. I mean, I only picked up those Dungeons and Dragons games, but there was a lot of stuff on sale. I don't know if it was like any specific reason or any sort of event going on, but a lot of stuff. The Witcher games in particular. Witcher 1 and 2, I think, were both mega cheap. The Witcher 1 baffles me because I get it that it's nothing like it's not as good as Witcher 2 or 3 from what I understand, but that's a good game, and it routinely goes for like $2.50. I remember when I was first getting on GOG, before they were accepting modern games, Witcher was this weird game that stood alone. Everything matched up to 2 price points. It was either $6 or $10 US. $6, $10, that was it. And then there was The Witcher, which stood at $50 amongst all the other games that conformed to this uniform price point. Very weird. And now $250. So that's the nature of the sale business model. I mean, they've got The Witcher 3 out. That's what they, from what I understand, a great game, and certainly ain't getting that for $250. All right. So let's do this. Let's wrap this up the way I have been wrapping up all my Vancasts, and that's by asking this question: if I was back at my desk where it's nice and cozy with a cup of tea, and I'm getting ready to play video games, what would be the game I would be playing right now? And that's pretty easy. It would be Eye of the Beholder. I was not ready to let that game go this morning. I only had 20 to 30 minutes to play it. And I didn't have time to like draw a map or any of that stuff like you do with those old first-person dungeon crawlers, anything like that. So I would most definitely be playing Eye of the Beholder. Fire up Twitch again, do some streaming, do some playing. It was a good time. I really enjoyed myself. And with that, I'm going to send you guys back to the Panzer Studios while I head off to work and do my shift. I'll see you guys there.
All right, guys and gals. This is a part where I like to just take a minute to thank the patrons. This is a Patreon-sponsored show. These guys give their resources to make sure Tiger Claw Radio comes back every week. And For that, I can offer them only a couple of things. They get the show a couple days early, and I read their names here on the air, and it's sort of a distinguished hall of gentlemen. And they are Hemrock, James, Sendu, Tecmo Balls, Darabka, Six Self the Fury, and the Cartridge Brothers. Thank you guys for supporting me for 1 year of Tiger Claw Radio. Also, as an additional perk, I've recorded the very first ever Patreon exclusive podcast. It's a 30-minute bit of kind of the state of things, and bouncing around different ideas I can do for fun perks. Just a little something out there for you guys who've been supporting the show. Thanks very much. With that, my friends, let's go back to the van. Now we're going back to Wednesday morning, the Vancast here on Tiger Claw Radio.
All right, what is today? Wednesday morning? What a night it was last night, guys. Let's talk about the Wii first off. So the Wii Virtual Console has finally come to a close. If you got games loaded into the Virtual Console right now, you can still access them, I believe, until next January. Anything you need to get reinstalled, anything you need to get backed up, you should be good to go for a while. But the close date has come and gone for adding new points. So if there's that one game you wanted to buy, it's a little bit late. I was hanging out online down to the wire, and people were posting lists like, here's a list of games on the Virtual Console that are slightly edited in every other Nintendo iteration. It was a pretty big list. Couldn't tell you anything that was on it, except for Pokemon Puzzle League. That was one of them. If you buy that on the Wii U or on the Switch or 3DS or whatever, apparently it's edited slightly somehow. Not in its original form. How? Couldn't tell you. But I made my final Wii purchases quite a while back, when my son and I got Pokemon Rumble and I got Phantasy Star for the Master System. Oh, by the way, Phantasy Star for the Master System is on that list of games that's edited everywhere else. So if you try and get that on the newer Nintendo consoles, don't know how. I'd have to do some research. Somehow something was changed. We see this kind of thing. The only other instance I know of games being changed for the Virtual Console was Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. There's a scene, or I believe it's Piston Honda, where he says like Hichiyama, Fujiyama, Ichi Nippon or something like that. It's just supposed to be a bunch of like Japanese nonsense words, which I believe they cut out in Virtual Console releases because it was offensive. That's the only real instance of a Virtual Console game being changed I can think of. So that's it. Nintendo's brought its service to a close, meaning Contra Rebirth, Bionic Commando Rebirth, Castlevania Adventure, Gradius Rebirth. Was it Gradius or R-Type? All of those games that only exist on the WiiWare and nowhere else have now become extinct. As far as I'm concerned, Nintendo leads the industry in abandoning old hardware. They absolutely lead the industry. The only other closure like this I can think of ever is when the original Xbox went down, and that was quite a long time ago, and they stayed up for quite a good number of years. So I'm interested to see if the Xbox 360 closes its virtual doors in 2 years, right? Because the big thing about the Wii, in terms of its release cycle, was it came out 2 years before the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, right? This is from memory, so feel free to call me on it if I'm off by a little bit. About 2 years before. So if it's closing now, that means in 2 years we can either expect to see the closure of the PlayStation 3 or the Xbox 360, or not. I have a feeling we won't see that. Just because of the way Nintendo handles their sales. How there's no discounted prices ever on anything on Nintendo ever. I gotta tell you, man, I really don't like the modern Nintendo company. They really leave a bad taste in my mouth. So that was that. I mean, that's the news of the hour, but on the other hand, like I said, I was able to pay my last respects to the WiiWare market like 6 months ago or more. So I was okay letting it go. We had a notice of discontinuation at the beginning of the year. I thought we were going to have longer, but oh well, we did okay. Moving on from the Nintendo stuff, we'll talk about some of the stuff I did just last night. My wife and I went out on a date, and we went to the one of the places we went was this used bookstore that we go to. And they have a little video game shelf where I'll go, and a lot of times I'll see old stuff, and sometimes I won't even buy the stuff. I'll just take pictures of it and like post it on Steam. For example, I think it was I can't think of the name of the MMO, but there was an MMO that was like a one-time purchase thing. I wish I could remember the name of it. A strategy guy just showed up there, and I took a little picture of it and put it up on the community hub. Got a bunch of thumbs up. People were like, "Hey man, yeah, where'd you get that?" I like that kind of thing. Any place where in the community hub of a game where you can go and see the physical media, I think is cool. So I went there, and they had a bunch of like Xbox games, and see, this was the thing. I took a picture like that before, and I looked back at that picture that I took. I can't remember what it was. It was like probably like a missed strategy guide or something. And in the background, I could see like Namco Museum for PS2. I was like, why didn't I buy that? It was right in front of me. So I went back to that shelf and I was looking at it, and yeah, they had a bunch of like Xbox games for 50 cents a piece. So I got Ghost Recon and Ghost Recon Island Thunder, and I think it's called Crimson Skies for the original Xbox, and something else. I got like 5 or 6 Xbox games, which was great. Xbox games aren't quite as financially desirable as like a Nintendo game or something. So that was pretty cool to see those. Apart from that, I did get a couple of strategy guides, but I can't really remember what they were. I remember one was one of the Vampire Masquerade games. I can't remember what it was called. There's 2 prominent Vampire Masquerade games. One is Bloodlines, and the other is something else, like Redemption or something. I got the one that was not Bloodlines. Sometimes those old guides, if you get an old strategy guide for a Steam game, I like to get them and then make community guides based off of some of the information that's inside. So I did that with a couple of old games, very old games. It's especially great if you find like a one of those gigantic instruction manuals for an old computer game that's not heavily purchased or played. Like, think of an example. That submarine game for the Nintendo, Silent Hunter, Silent Service. Yeah, that's it. Silent Service is out on Steam, but it's like the old MS-DOS version from the 80s, and nobody's been playing it, and it's really hard to figure out how to play. That's one I think you'd use a Steam guide. That way, if you decide to dip your toe in, at least you can see what the controls are. That was my evening. Hung out, found some cool games, found some cool game guides. It was great, man. It was really great. I haven't had a video game find like that in a long time. Video game finds now are sort of a rarity. Very much a rarity. Not like they used to be. A lot of the spots that I buy video games at, or I had been finding video games at, have either closed or just stopped putting video games up. Like the thrift store, where they hold the video games in the back, and now you have to pay off the people who sort the incoming donations in order to find any of them. Well, all right. I think that's about that. Woo, look at the deer, man. Jeez Louise. Deer running across the road. Are we safe now? I think we're safe. Well, that about sums up that. I feel like I could go on and on about some of the games that I've been streaming lately, but I'll just touch on it briefly. I mentioned, I think last week, I picked up the Forgotten Realms collections over on GOG.com. Well, I set up Twitch, and I started streaming Eye of the Beholder. Eye of the Beholder is like an old, let's say an old favorite, but it's a game I liked. Didn't play it much, but I enjoyed it. I remember one time we had the Super Nintendo game, and my older brother got really far in it, and I really enjoyed watching him play. I was never great at it, though. Well, I got it on PC, which I like because you'd never know this on Super Nintendo, but it was a trilogy. There were 3 different games. Excuse me. So on PC, I got them all 3. That's great. So I played that, started streaming Eye of the Beholder. Been having fun with it. I got stuck, but I'm still working it out. And I also got a game called Dungeon Hack, which, as it turns out, is basically the Eye of the Beholder engine, but they rebuilt Rogue inside of it. So you play as, instead of 4 people, you just play as 1. The dungeon is all randomly generated. And that's it. Basically Rogue in first-person view. So, as soon as I discovered that, it was on. I've only had the chance to play that. I was just like, when did I play Dungeon Hack for the first time? 2 days ago? Very recently. I've only had the chance to put it like a half an hour into it, but I was like, this is really rad, man. That whole pack, I mean, those are just 2 games that I played, but that whole pack was first-person dungeon crawling, just about. The vast majority of it. So that's really great for me. I got a lot of stuff to dig into. Well, alright. I feel like yawning on the air, on a podcast. I feel like that's almost as bad as cussing. Nobody wants to hear, when you're listening to a podcast, you never want to hear the host yawn. That's bad news. And I am very tired. I stayed out late last night. Not too late, but a little bit late. And it's early in the morning, on my way to work, getting ready to go do my shift. So I'm going to sign off here and go do what I got to do. Hang on a second. Let me just take care of this little bit driving first. Alright, guys and gals. I'm going to send you guys back to the Panzer Studios, where it's nice and comfortable. There's blankets and hot tea and coffee and anything else you can think of. Alright, you lucky dogs. I'll see you there.
We are back again in the comfortable Panzer Studios. So we're going to play a track from Battle of the Bits, and then when we come back, it's going to be time for the fail bag. And a good fail bag it is this week. But first, this is Toby Comey playing Wake Up. Get yourself a copy of the MP3 over Battle of the Bits. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Why we are on this particular mission, I do not know. But I do know the Black Knights will emerge victorious. Alright, boys and girls. You know what time it is. We're heading over to YouTube to read the comments in what we call the fail bag. You guys know the deal. This is a small program. It's pretty much just me and you here. It's just me and this tiny little device that you keep around for the sake of MP3s and whatnot. So you can shoot me messages. Whatever you got is liable to be read on the air. So let's see what... Bear with me, it's kind of slow to surf in. There we go. So we got some from Light Studios. Our good friend Sendu, and he writes, "You keep saying Drive Time. That's the name of a dealership. Aiming for a sponsorship? No, I'll tell you what that is, Sendu. When I say Drive Time, that means I gotta stop talking because it's time for me to drive the car and I don't want to get in an accident. That's what Drive Time means." Alright, he also says the Sega Genesis Repro cards feel noticeably less durable than originals. How do Nintendo repros feel? Well, Sendu, I've got 3 different kinds of repros for the Nintendo now. I've got the cannibalized kind, which feel as authentic as any other game, because they've actually taken games apart and destroyed them and made something else in their wake. Those feel pretty authentic. Then there are there's like a mid-range cart, which is probably what you'd expect to get if you ordered a random Nintendo Repro cart. Those are the ones where you flip them over and that little rectangle in the back that usually says Nintendo is just blank. Those feel okay. They do. They feel a lot better than the Sega Genesis repros do. And then there is a third kind of repro, which is subpar, newly manufactured parts with an extra clip on it in the center of the top, and the whole thing is a little bit fatter than a Nintendo cartridge is supposed to be. So I had to kind of work it to get it in the machine. Those work. I've got one of those. My copy of Some Usual Day for the Nintendo is one of those, but it's not great. I don't care much for it. You can tell if you got one of those because they're put together with regular screws as opposed to traditional Nintendo security screws. Alright, so Desm101 put a couple comments on some recent videos. On Eye of the Beholder, he says, "I remember seeing this for rent for SNES. The visuals look great on the dungeon and monsters." You know what's funny, Desm? I remember the SNES version mostly from watching it as well. I didn't play it a whole lot, but my brother played it. And certainly was a cool looking game. But I seem to remember when I tried it, the controls feeling incredibly wonky. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just the way I remember it. And it's pretty fluid on the computer. Tecmo Balls leaves a comment on Contra, writing, "I got it boxed for $40 a few months ago in a Facebook group, but it doesn't seem to be going up." You know what? I'll tell you something. Classic video games, retro video games, they're expensive, but they're leveling off in terms of price. So we'll have to see. It's the first time we've gotten any sort of breather in price fluctuations in many, many years. PS1 games have even gone down in most cases. Light Studios says, "Ever heard of Archon on NES? Fun 2-player game that takes place on a chessboard." You know, I've heard the name. I think I've even seen it in game collections, but I've never played it. Thanks for the heads up. I'll have to check it out. What else we got? Yeah, here we go. One from Desm101 on the Coltrane comment. Heck yeah, it's always good to find more jazz fans. I think it's best to have an eclectic taste in music. Also, thanks for the shout out and for sharing the link, man. Looking forward to Monday mornings in the podcast. I'll put the link on the 5th line of the comment so you wouldn't think I was trying to spam your comment section with views. Ha! So it's totally okay you didn't see it at first. My current setup is CDJs, which is what you see in the video, but originally I'm a vinyl DJ. When I moved east 3 years ago, I didn't have space for all my records and turntables, so I'm planning to get them this summer when I drive them up here from Cincy. That's cool, man. I was never much interested in DJing and DJ equipment until like the last couple of years, and it's just a passing interest for me. It's like I have things that I study and I'm passionate about and I want to get better at, like playing music and stuff. As far as DJs are concerned, I'm just interested in what they do. You know what I mean? I like watching a talented DJ at work. I think that's interesting. I don't think I would go shopping for equipment myself. I mean, I like doing the chiptune specials and stuff, but for me, it's more of a radio vibe. I grew up when I was on my 11th birthday. My dad, who passed away when I was 14, he gave me a like a Walkman, a classic Walkman. It was branded, had played the cassette tapes, and it had the radio on it. Now at this time, life was tough, man. My mom was in a mental institution, and my dad, shortly after that, had a real big stroke and was in the hospital. So I was living with my sister. So it was me and this Walkman. I didn't own any video games, 0 video games. Me, my sister, this Walkman, and every night I would listen to the radio. Right? Now this was, if I had to guess, 1994, maybe 95. No, I was 10 or 11, so it had to be like 96, 97. Jeez Louise. No, 96. That doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. I don't know what year it was. I gotta be honest, I don't know. Sometime in the mid-90s. And I listened to this radio, and at that time, Loveline was popular. Do you know Loveline? Adam Carolla and Dr. Drew. They would play that on the local rock station in the middle of the night, and I wasn't supposed to be listening to it. It's like the dirty radio show, so you're not supposed to listen to it. That had a huge influence on me, just getting into radio. Adam would talk a lot about what it was like to work in radio, which is something not a lot of radio personalities would do. And that was huge, because I wasn't really interested in music before that. I heard a lot of songs during that time that like stuck. That stuck. You know, that was the first time I ever heard. I think Offspring was the band I was really into at that time. They played "Come Out and Play" on the radio, and I was like, "That's the song." When "Come Out and Play" comes on, everything has to stop so I can hear that song. I can't, it's funny, I can't remember being that into any song ever since. Because that was before, even if I had the cassette tape and I heard the song, I'd have to sit and wait for 45 seconds while it would rewind. Alright, so to me, when I do the podcast and I do the music, it has much more of a radio vibe. Because that's what I got in my core. I have appreciation for DJs and what you do, but never once have I adjusted that BPM to make one song flow to another. I don't know. It's just something. It's an entirely different broadcast philosophy. So that's where that's kind of where I sit on that. What else we got? Light Studios put one on the previous week's episode, who writes, "Don't feel too bad about the numbers. YouTube's new algorithm caused literally everyone to take a big hit in view count." You know what, man? It's rough. The numbers are rough. You gotta just let it go. So thank goodness I'm actually connected with some people. So that makes it a little bit easier to deal with. Tecmo Balls leaves one on, what episode is this? This is a while back. I gotta see which episode this is. 223, and we're on 228. So that was a little over a month ago. He writes, "Yo, bro, do you really still use Winamp? That brings back memories for sure. The chiptunes are cool, especially this week's. But why can't you add the old James Brown stuff as well? My fondest TCR memories is the James Brown era." Yeah, me too. "Love the show, bro. Keep on keeping on. I noticed you and Bithead both get up early to game and such. I found myself becoming a bit of an early bird too. It's the only time I get to myself with the dogs, wife, and the kids. I'm gonna make more of an effort to interact with the show and throw some more comments up. Tecmo Balls. P.S. Balzac and Tecmo Balls are not one and the same. Thought you said that at one time, but it's funny. 2 of your biggest fans have balls in their name." I'm glad you cleared that up, because I read this comment when you first left it, and it was one of those moments where it was like, kind of blew my mind a little bit. Balzac has done this where he posts under multiple names, where it's Balzac, and then sometimes it's Casleb, and then you have Tecmo Balls, and then sometimes I spot your real name in some places. So I don't know where along the line I drew that comparison, but for the longest time I thought you two were the same guy. I that's just what I thought. I thought maybe Balzac had opened a Patreon account and wanted to keep some anonymity, so he used another name. I don't know. It goes to figure. As far as let's see, what else did you talk about? Winamp, yes, I use Winamp. Winamp has superior playlist ability, but you don't get to see any album art, at least not the way I have it set up. So I use Winamp when I want to listen to music for a while. When I want to hear one song, I use VLC. So I seesaw back and forth. Winamp is actually changing hands right now. So if you try and go to an official website and download it, it's down. It's not going to be there. So what I did was I got an old exe from some legacy website, and that seems to work. But yeah, that's Winamp. It's still working. That's one of the reasons why I'm still on Windows 7, because these old programs, they're still kicking. Microsoft hasn't snuffed them out just yet. Also, as far as the James Brown era, I 100% agree with you. James Brown, the Spinners, I just got the Spinners on vinyl at the used bookstore. All those old Atlantic, like Motown guys. Wilson Pickett is another one I like a lot. I think Jerry Butler, I had just discovered Jerry Butler back in those days. That stuff is great. The reason why I drifted away from that was because of copyright issues. That was also at the time when the 8BC was around. And the 8BC was like the only music source I knew of where in order to upload a track, you had to release it in the Creative Commons. That was a requirement. So if you're producing a podcast and you want to be able to get music that you're sure is not going to get you in trouble, the 8BC was the way to go. Nowadays, now that was before I was involved with YouTube. Now I'm involved with YouTube. It's gotten even more dangerous. Copyright strikes. The best case scenario, the content gets ID'd. Somebody else's ad goes up on my podcast. I have a hard time with that. Also, I mean, I could lose everything. I don't know how I would do it. I would love to go back there. That was because that's like some of the greatest music in the world. It really is. But I don't know how I would do it without putting the show in jeopardy. Maybe we could do like a. Maybe we could do something. That might be something fun to do for the patrons, because I've been talking about more stuff I can do for Patreon. That would be nice to do like an R&B night or like an old soul night. There's a podcast called the Shout Bamalama podcast that plays that kind of music over on Radio Mutation. That's the name of the website. That's a great website. Radio Mutation, man. That's a bunch of guys that play old primitive rock and roll music, like tapes and vinyl and stuff like that, old demos, in like a bunch of podcasts that all run in a network, and they use a radio format, like old radio antics. I love that website, man. I would love to do something like that again. I gotta build up a collection though. In those days, I just I had those MP3s on my computer. I've changed computers twice since then. I would have to gather my party before venturing forth in a big way. Also, you talked a little bit about getting up early, Bithead and me, and now you. I think that's something to do with being a grown up, with kids. Once you have kids, there's no way you can stay up late enough to get time on your own. That doesn't work out that way. If you want to get some time, just dad, you got to get it early in the morning, because the rest of the time you get a job to do, right? It's not bad. You got to be there for your family. They need you. They depend on you. So that was a thing for me. Once I started working, and I realized that I had all the time in the world I need, I can take it. I just got to get up early. If I need 4 hours to myself, that's no problem. I just got to get up at 1 a.m. So that's all it is. Thanks for writing in, by the way. It's cool to hear from you. And I surely hope you feel like you're getting your money's worth. We got some from Light Studios. I'm trying to determine if these were read last week or not. Oh, yeah. He says, of course, iPhones don't hold the market like they used to. Androids are better. Yes, I agree. Light Studios writes, one of my 3 Saturns has that problem where the discs don't spin. You can sometimes get them to work by moving the eye to the middle first. Sega Saturn is the most interesting system I own. You know what? I did that. Well, no, I guess my last one didn't have that problem. The discs would spin, but they'd scrape the bottom. The previous machine that I had many, many years ago, I don't remember what I did with that to get it working. I didn't know anything about the Saturn at the time. I mean, I still know very little, but I knew really nothing then. So I let it go. I didn't even want to let it go. I put it on a shelf and my mother threw it out. It's in a long list of things that were valuable or would be extremely valuable that I don't have anymore because my mom threw them out. You know, what are you going to do? It sucks, but I do the best I can to not be bitter about it. It's something I find it real easy to be bitter about. I think that's it. The very next comment is the Sonic Classic Heroes comment from last week. So I think we did all of the comments there. And I think that's about it. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to head over to Gmail. I was on the next round today, and there were no comments there. So I'm pretty sure we're clear there. Just going to make sure that I don't have anything else sitting. Hey, the Cartridge Club is live. Oh, that was yesterday. I missed it. God. That sucks. All right. We got some Fortnite. We got some TCR. Oh, yeah. TCR 132, 133, and 144.4. Old episodes of TCR from a long time ago. I dug them up on an old computer. I got them uploaded to the archive. So if you go to my page on archive.org, you can get there by going back to the blog, tigerclawtv.com. I know that's just become a diarrhea for posts, for like posting stuff from YouTube, but I still maintain that page. And it's got a link on it that goes back to the archive where you can find hundreds of hours of old Tiger Claw radio. It goes all the way back to the beginning. There are a couple of holes in it, small episodes that for whatever reason went missing. They didn't get uploaded at the right time. I seem to remember there were a couple episodes as well where I just skipped a number because I lost track of the numbers. And that was just a thing that happened because the whole operation was just me in a basement. So what are you going to do? Those turned up on an old computer. I made sure they got uploaded to the archive, so there they are. So if you want some more TCR in your life, head over to the archive. Check them out. Somebody left a comment on my Steam profile, and I think it's my favorite Steam comment because I think it perfectly encapsulates what it's like to use the Steam community. The gentleman's name is Schwoogie, and he leaves this comment. I have no idea who this is. It's my favorite comment because I don't know who he is either. I can see when I go to his profile that we have a group in common. Let's see. 24/7 Browntown, which is a Trouble in Terrace Town group that I like. He must have been somebody I was talking to in playing TTT a while back. And just, hey, through the ad, said, hey, man, let's be bros. Added me to his friends list, completely forgot about me, and that was that. It happens. It's a thing. Also, now that we're 48 minutes in, can we talk about the Atari box just a little bit? I know. So we learned that the Atari box is real. We also know that they're plagiarizing the Xbox controller for a controller, so that at least they have a real controller. I can't imagine this being... I don't feel good about this, guys. I really don't. They said $250 to $300. They're really going to have to pull a rabbit out of the hat to make that something good. I think a lot of people... I'm shocked that it's a real system. I thought there was going to be nothing. That was going to be the end of it. We'd never hear from it again. So, it could... You never know. It could be the thing that everybody laughed, and then finally it came out and took over the industry. I don't think that's going to happen, but you never know. Alright, I want to play one more track, guys. Just one more. This one's not from Battle of the Bands. This is from the Nordleaf 7-inch, which is available still on vinyl for $10. This song is called Stay True. Oh, yeah. And the 7-inch is called 7 Force Number 4. Heck of a track here on Tiger Claw Radio. Well, you know what time it is. We're 52 minutes in to Tiger Claw Radio. My throat hurts, and I actually don't feel very good. But we did it. We did another show, we stayed alive, and you guys should all be proud of yourselves because you did it too. Now, whatever has brought you here, I hope your life is going good, and I want you to do good again. Hang in there, we'll take it 1 week at a time. Make it a good one, because I'm rooting for you. I'll see you next Monday. By the way, you Patreon supporters out there, keep an eye on the Patreon page because I got an exclusive little tiny podcast coming out just for you guys. Thanks for listening.